Great. All right. Well, thank you again for everyone for being here today. My name is Sharon Parento, and I am so excited to share this with you. It is the accumulation of years of experience working with sellers who are either first-time sellers or first-time and a long-time sellers. And there are some common questions, common concerns that we want to address, but most of all, I want to make sure that you get your questions answered. So there is a uh, chat box feature for you to type in your questions. And if you think of things afterwards, feel free to reach out to me. I really just want to share with you what my experience tells me buyers are looking for right now in a tight market with very few homes selling. We want to make sure that you're the one on your neighborhood block that is the sold sign and not the one that is lingering. So you have one chance to get it right. Um, that's somewhat of an overstatement, but not entirely. It's really important to make a good strong launch into the marketplace and make sure that your home holds its own against the competition. So that's what we're here to do today. And the work that you do now will pay off in the two ways that the two ways that sellers are looking for, and that is the quickest sale and the highest price. So anything I am recommending to you is not a make work project. It's a make money project. So with that in mind, let's move forward. So there we go. Here I am on a better hair day. And I know that after helping more than 100 clients with their home sales, it can be a very overwhelming prospect. You just don't even know where to start. And if you've never done it before, and we are now in this digital age, those transactions can be just so complicated. And I'm going to say one of the things that you hire a realtor for is to bring simplicity to that process, to handle as many of the moving pieces as possible. Pardon the pun, the moving pieces. But also to approach it in a systematic fashion, that things are not falling off the plate, but things are being remembered, they're being anticipated, they're being planned for, and that the appropriate resources are being allocated to them. So, as a seniors real estate agent, this is really what I've been working on over the years, gaining experience, perfecting systems, and making sure that I share that knowledge. Because I strongly feel that when you are an informed consumer, whether buying or selling, you're going to make better choices. And those expectations are going to be established up front. And you and I are going to have just a really positive experience together. So today's market is not the market of 5 years ago, and we have to pivot. That's a word we all got sick of during COVID, but this is a pivoting time again in real estate. And it's not like homes are not selling, it's just that fewer homes are selling and it's taking longer. So we want to make sure we are stacking the deck in your favor. That's what this is about. This is all about working the system so the system works for you. So let me tell you what I mean by this. It starts by a shift in thinking. Like, I know when you've been in your home 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 years, maybe even more, this is your home. This is your safe haven. This is the backdrop for your biggest and best memories. But once we start thinking like a buyer, you have to take that mindset and commodify it. Your home is now a product on a market of other products. So when we start thinking like a buyer, then it helps us depersonalize the process somewhat, to kind of back up and have a little bit more objectivity, to look at it with maybe a greater clarity and not have our emotions cloud our judgments as much. So when you think of your buyer, the people who are moving into your street, they are not you. They are not your age. They are not your stage. They are looking for some of the same things that you were looking for when you bought your home, how many years ago. Those are still some of their drivers, but they have some unique challenges in affordability that you probably didn't face. And I know some of us have lived through interest rates that were in the high teens, and that was a terrible time. By comparison, today looks like a relative cakewalk, but they are two full-time working individuals. How can I know that? Well, you can't qualify for a mortgage these days to buy your house without it being two full-time working individuals. They usually are going to have kids in tow because they are coming to your house as a move-up purchase. They have a lot of credit, a lot of debt, but they don't have a lot of time or capacity or interest, for that matter, in taking on big home improvement projects. And this is really interesting to think of. This is a bit of I've been doing this for a number of years now, but it just really occurred to me is that what they are looking for is your house to solve a problem for them. What is their problem? They don't have enough room. They don't have a backyard. They want to get closer to the in-laws or the grandparents. Like there is some problem they want your house to solve. And otherwise, they would just stay put, right? They're either moving away from pain or they are moving towards some kind of aspirational goal. So when we look at it from their point of view, they are looking for the best deal on the block. Like, and who wouldn't, right? I'm actually in the market right now for a used minivan. And I've been looking at the different brands, which is kind of the equivalent of looking at different neighborhoods. I've been in the Toyota neighborhood and the Honda neighborhood, and now I am looking for the best vehicle, the color I want, the model, the low mileage, and the good price, right? And so this is really kind of similar to buying a house that we want the best possible opportunity for ourselves. And that's not being selfish, that's just being savvy. So they're looking into a marketplace and they are constrained in some ways by location. They want particular neighborhoods. Not every geographical area is in their sights. They are looking for a particular size of home. And usually, I would say, most people are looking for the biggest home they can afford, right? They've been pre-approved for a certain amount, and as they start hunting for that house, they're looking for the biggest house their money can buy. That's just human nature. Not everyone, not exclusively, but I'm saying in generalities. But they're also looking, as I said, for your home to solve some problems for them. Maybe it's convenience. They are looking for something that we would say in real estate land is turnkey or move-in ready. They want the fewest headaches in this transition because, let's face it, moving is full of enough of its own headaches, right? They're looking for value. They're looking for lifestyle. They like the idea of their kids growing up in a neighborhood like they grew up in. They like the idea of good schools and quiet parks and safety and convenience to shopping and highways. They like all of that for sure. They've got a lifestyle picture that this home is going to help them achieve, but they're also looking for opportunities to move in with a good property at a good price. And that's kind of where we can meet them. As many of these needs that we can target the messaging about your home to, the better the successful outcome is for everyone. It'll be a win-win. And how are they looking? Well, if you bought your house the last time in a realtor's office flipping through a book, the world has changed. Every person now looking for a property to buy has a powerful little computer in their hand and they can do the searching for themselves. They're tech savvy. They are already on a bunch of home search websites like House Sigma. They've got an account set up in realtor.ca, and they contact their realtor quite far into the process of searching. Like I am working with move up buyers right now, and it's like an exchange of data. This is like, hey, I saw this one. What can you find out about it? And most of the information is available. There's not very much that we gatekeep as realtors. So this kind of huge democratization of information has really affected the buyer's behavior. And they are looking online, and it's almost like a dating app. Like I have to kind of use that analogy. And they're looking at homes, and if the home doesn't suit their taste, their style, their expectations, they just swipe. They swipe left and they move on to the next one. So your online presence matters. Taking your home and readying it for its debut on the internet is the most important thing that will affect the outcome. Because as it says on my slide here, they're going to be looking at it and making judgments about it before they've ever stepped in the front door. And if it doesn't hold up to their scrutiny, they will pass it by. So we want to make sure your home gets the attention it deserves, and that when it gets the attention, it keeps their attention long enough for them to vote in favor of your property, to put your property on their short list. So what does that entail? Well, I recommend this as a system to bring some clarity to the process. We are going to start with decluttering. It is absolutely the most important thing any seller could do. Don't worry about granite countertops or replacing ducky wallpaper. If the home is cluttered, it is going to be very difficult to sell. Because number one, the sellers, oh, it should be buyers. They won't buy what they can't see. So a decluttered home photographs better, and there's going to be a generally better acceptance of the property, warts and all, if it's decluttered. The second step is we're going to recommend some strategic improvements. Remember, as I said, my adage here is that we are not about making work for you. We are about making money for you and establishing a budget and setting some priorities. I am never going to recommend that you yank out the kitchen and do a, to the studs renovation. Never going to happen on my watch. I just don't think you'll get the return. If you want to do it for your own enjoyment, well, then by all means, but don't do it to sell your house. The other thing is we're going to take your everyday living, the way you live, just your circumstances, and we are going to elevate it through staging the property. And I know, oh boy, do I know, a lot of home sellers are really resistant to this idea because it's based on some misinformation. And I want to address those myths and make sure that I answer your questions as well. So we need to create a strong online presence, and these are the 3 steps to achieve that. Okay, so what are we talking about? Why do we start with decluttering? Well, it seems evident, but I just want to go through to reiterate how important it is because it's so distracting. It diminishes the appeal of your home. And as we said, buyers are searching online. They're going to make a snap judgment, or maybe not snap, but a quick judgment. And I feel like clutter brings in the walls. It tends to pull in the spaces, and it just looks busy and unappealing. So what we want to do is, as much as possible, have unbroken sight lines. Allow your buyers to see the square footage, to get a sense of the space, to look at the quality of your hardwood, or the unbroken expanse of your countertops, whatever that is. And it really allows them to imaginatively start projecting into your space. And we know that that is the first step to them creating an emotional connection to your home when it's listed for sale. All right, so we really emphasize this. If you have been in any of our workshops before, you know this is a nail I keep hammering because I encounter it every single time. And if it was my own house that I was selling, not this pretend house in the background, but my actual house, absolutely, I would need to do this too. This is not a judgment. This is just a reflection of the marketplace realities that I want to make sure you know about. Okay, so I want to show you these real life before and after pictures. Now, it's absolutely your choice to live like the picture on the left. Like everybody does have a certain amount of stuff that migrates to countertops. There are very few homes that I walk into as part of a consultation and don't suggest decluttering. It just seems that the longer you live, the more you acquire, and we just want to kind of reverse that process. Oh my gosh, it's almost like we're de-aging your house. So that's funny. But yes, less is more. You can just see how much better the photography is. I mean, obviously the left picture looks like it's a cell phone and the right looks like it's been, better lit and everything. But I like this used car analogy because it's relevant right now. If you were to sell my minivan, you would not try to sell it the way it is looking right now in my driveway with open house signs in the back and, a coffee ring on the dashboard, 1,000 pens and what's the cup holder. Those things I would take out. I would clean the mats. I would give it a detailing, right? That's kind of what they would call it. I would have it detailed. And the same thing with your house. We're looking for a space that is decluttered, and this is the first step so that we can do the next steps. All right, so look at this. I mean, at some uh, at some point, obviously nobody's going to list their home with an unmade bed, but it's just the other kind of surplus furniture in there too. I think that we want your property to have a certain calmness that appeals to people. And there is an emotional reaction, I think, when we see a cluttered space. I don't know that it registers consciously, but at least unconsciously, it feels a little jarring. It feels jangling on our nerves. So that's the opposite of what we want to do. We don't want people to say, oh, wow, look at that crummy slip cover on the wingback chair. We just don't want to attract attention at all. Like that is to recede into the background, and what they pay attention to is, wow, that's a lot of great natural light. Look at that big window. That's really great. And those are the things that we can do by the power of decluttering. So there is a resonating that happens with a property or not. And it's kind of hard to explain, but as I said, there's steps we can do to help create that outcome. So here's another thing I've noticed. Basements can become quite the dumping ground for, the surplus of life. And they are actually very valuable real estate to a move up buyer. A young family with kids, they need your basement to be, if it's a finished basement, they need your basement to be a bonus area, an overflow for living, not just junk storage. So as much as possible, we want to show the potential, the hidden potential of that space, and not just leave it up to buyers' imaginations, because most people do not have a strong enough imagination to overcome a junky basement, right? So again, this is not saying that anyone here would seriously list their home for sale with the picture on the left, but what we're aiming for is the picture on the right to show the space in its intended purpose and as a potential extra added value for the buyer. So anybody who knows me knows that we have these resources, but if you haven't seen them for a while, I encourage you to either sign up again for our 30-day decluttering challenge to get started on the decluttering, or to request our booklet that I wrote called the Decluttering Battle Plan. And there is no way around it. This is going to cost you either time or it's going to cost you money. Depending on your age and stage, you can do it on your own. You might not want to do it on your own, in which case the money part comes into it. And I was joking with my kids one of my kids the other day, saying like most problems in life, it just takes money. And there are companies that can be hired and they will come in and they will help you do the sorting and the purging, the donation and the sale. If those are things you need, you can reach out to me and I'm happy to send you the resources that we have available. But if you have the time, anything that you can do now, your future self is going to thank you for. Guaranteed. It's going to happen one way or the other. And to declutter now, when it benefits your sale, just seems smart to me. Okay, so decluttering is step one. And step two is the strategic improvement. So if you have not been taking care of things, if there are things that you know you've been putting off, the honey-do list just keeps getting pushed into the future. I call that deferred maintenance. Those are things that can cost you the real estate deal. Well, in the first point, it makes your house a fixer-upper and it immediately shrinks your buyer pool down to the much fewer number of buyers who are going to be willing to take on your your list. That's basically what you're doing, is that you're kicking it down the road to the new buyer and saying, "Hey, I didn't do this. I should have, but now you should take care of it." And there's only one way to incentivize them to do that, and that is by lowering the cost of your home compared to the competition. So if that is not an option to you, they look at it and they say, "Well, this is just too much work. I'm going to go down the road where I see a simpler solution to my problem." The other time it can come back and bite you, I was going to say something, bite you on the nose, is when your buyer's home inspector finds this list. No homes these days are being sold with a firm deal. Your house will sell with the two conditions that have been standard up until the COVID mayhem. And that was, it's going to be conditional upon financing. They have to go away and finalize their mortgage agreement with their bank, their lender. The second thing is they will be doing a property inspection, especially if your home is built in the 70s and 80s, 90s. They're going to want to make sure that the foundational issues, like, well, pun intended, including foundation, roof, electrical, windows, furnace, air conditioning, plumbing, even, that all of those are safe for their families. So if something comes up and it's a defect, it's discovered by their home inspector, this is a great opportunity for the buyer's agent to demand a cashback or a clawback on the offer price. So this is something I'm really good at, is standing my ground that we will not renegotiate the sale price. I've had agents try and tell me things like, "Wow, the pool liner, oh, it's going to need to be replaced in 3 years." No, we're not buying you a new pool liner now for something down the road. Like, no, that's my job to protect you from that. But if it's a health and safety issue, if it is something like there's evidence of water penetration in the roof because it's been 25 years since you reshingled, if it's something like an electrical system, those are health and safety. And we have an obligation to present the home to them, deliver the home to them in a safe, habitable condition, right? Makes sense? So get on the deferred maintenance before you sell. Take care of the things that you know need to be done because you don't want to sacrifice on the price. You don't want to turn off buyers who are looking for a convenient option. And you don't want to have the stress of an agent demanding a clawback on the sale price after the home inspection. This is kind of worst case scenario. So how do you set priorities? Because I've already told you, I don't think replacing all the counters in your kitchen is a good use of your time and money. I've also said that we want to really just do what we know will help your house sell. So that starts with the known defects. We've covered that, but also anything that could be a potential buyer objection. So anytime we have a strong design, it attracts some people, but turns off more other people. Um, we're looking for neutral decor, move in ready. Like you just think of something as simple. You would think this should be no problem, but let's just pretend. I've had clients who've had very colorful paint throughout the house. Um, and I said to my client, we had a foyer that was kind of a lemony yellow. We had a family room that was forest green, a dining room that was like a burgundy red. And I said, pick one. You can have one. You cannot have all three because it just becomes harder and harder for that buyer to see their furniture. Oh, this is going to be a lot of work. And what do they not want? They don't want a lot of work. So I'm assuming that when I come to your home to list it for sale, that the roof is going to be in good condition, that the windows are likely not original. They don't have to be last year or this year, but they probably shouldn't be original. We're going to assume that the heating and air conditioning system are in good working order. If, however, they're not, please, please do not lease a furnace and air conditioner. Because remember what we said about your buyers being like up to their eyeballs in debt? The last thing they want to do after tacking on, after a 4,000 or $4,500 a month mortgage payment is to have to pay another $200 for an HVAC system. It just rankles them. And it's not like you can sell a house in Ontario without a furnace. It's kind of essential, like buying a used car without a steering wheel. Like it has to be part of the package. And if you have leased it out, that lease never ends. And you're going to have to find out what the buyout for that is. If you've already done this, there's no sense in crying over leased furnaces, but I'm not as worried about a hot water tank because it's like $30 or $40 a month. It's much more common. But I've seen the combination of a new air conditioning and a new furnace system costing like upwards of $200 a month. And that is a real turnoff. So when you're setting these priorities, if you know there are things that are kind of needing to be done, piece them out in the time that you have left in your home. And it is much better for you to actually put that furnace on a credit card because it will not be registered as a lien against your home like something from Enercare or Enbridge will be, right? Okay, I'm happy to answer more questions about that if it comes up. So here's my top list of strategic improvements, starting at number 3. This is often neglected, but I'm going to say curb appeal. I'm not saying you have to do a whole, big whack of landscaping, but making sure that it's tidy, it's in, some fresh mulch, the nice weeding of the gardens and clearing out of the paths. Those things make a good first impression. It kind of speaks to the level of maintenance of the rest of the home. So we want to make sure that that first impression is a positive one. And I'm going to recommend, if it's been a long time since you've addressed your kitchen, to think about some minor kitchen updates. Again, this is paint and hardware and light fixtures, maybe a new backsplash. The lighter, the brighter, the better. We are seeing a movement back into wood cabinetry, but it's not the honey oak of 1990. It's different, of course. Nothing ever comes back in its original iteration. So the safest bet is a white kitchen. Anything else, like the more, as I said, the stronger that color choice becomes, the fewer people are going to be attracted to it. So the other thing is the neutral paint. And for some of your homes, this is going to be a several $1,000, maybe up to $10,000 of an investment, but it will pay back in spades. I'm telling you, the neutral builder's beige or warm white is just going to have so many more buyers be willing to, move in. That's closer to move in ready than just about anything else. So these are the top three things that can greatly impact your sale. But if it's been a long time since you've done anything more in the mid-level improvements, I just read a study this week that was saying that another really good return on investment, that's what the ROI means, are front door and garage door. One article said it could be as much as 190%. So if it costs you $6,000 for a new front door and a new garage door, that it could pay off, $10,000 or more. Carpet to hardwood, that's a tough one because it's so difficult. We had the floors in our house redone, and oh my word, we had everything on our driveway in a pod, and it was really super inconvenient. But if there is an auction, an opportunity to take out old carpet, that's always going to do you well. There is very little tolerance for broadloom right now. People see it as moving into other people's yuck. So if you have broadloom in your home and you're not willing to swap it out, that's fine, but just know that the buyer pool will be somewhat diminished and it could actually affect the resale value. The other thing is kitchen appliances. If they're as old as the hills, then that could be a mid-level improvement that will pay off. All right. So I'm focusing on the things that are the least costly because I'm assuming that the less you spend, the better the return on investment is. So these are kind of a different category. We have to just beware, do things judiciously, strategically. So here are some ideas about curb appeal. I love a nice, hefty coach lamp. I just think that most of the ones that came standard with houses are really uninspired. They tend to be too small, and if they're at the point where they are rusted out or just look, yucky, then this is a relatively cheap fix. Adding a little pop of color. Now, I know neutral paint. Well, the front door is the exception, not the garage door. Nobody needs a pink garage door, but a front door with a bit of a pop of color can set a house apart. You see that the old brass light fixture there has just been spray painted, taken apart, spray painted. We've done that. We've done that for mailboxes and house numbers and, taking off the brass kick plate on the bottom of the door or changing out the door knocker. These are all things that just give an instant updating to it. So again, like I said, some good mulch and a few hostas, and most homes really look so much better. So here's some examples of kitchens that are going to win the neighborhood beauty contest. Well, what do I mean by that? Every home is in a beauty contest with its neighbors when it's listed for sale. And look at these. Both of these transformations are virtually just paint. So the one on the left is new paint and new light fixtures. They're taking that kind of urban loft, semi-industrial look and applying it. Black and white and neutral still is very popular. And the one on the right, they have also swapped out the flooring. It looks like they've covered the vinyl tiles with maybe some board of some sort, maybe some engineered hardwood, not sure. But those cabinets have just been painted, and that's it. And there are tons of companies now that will give you, some pot lights too. So that's a little above. They've taken out the fluorescent industrial looking warehouse light and they've replaced it with something, yeah, definitely a bit more expensive in the pot lights. But the rest of it is just paint. And paint is something that there are lots of companies that will do it. Do buyers expect to receive existing appliances? Yes, we don't move appliances typically. The days of moving your fridge when you move are pretty much done. So you will buy a place that has all of the appliances included, and virtually every home we sell, all of the appliances are included as well. So even if there was something like maybe the exception would be a bar fridge in the basement, or if you had a secondary freezer in the basement, these are things that you may choose. We just list it in the listing paperwork very explicitly if there are exclusions. Another thing is usually we sell homes with the existing light fixtures, but if you have a family heirloom that is the that is like a chandelier or something, we make that also very evident in the listing that it's not included. So I apologize if you can see Henry, if you can hear Henry barking in the background. He has decided that immediately is when he needs to get up and go out. So I'm just going to have to ignore him. What about the yuck factor of using somebody else's appliances? That's a really interesting question. I think that for the most part, a deep cleaning by a professional company, I don't see it as a big, a, I I don't know. You would use their toilets, wouldn't you? So I would say that's a bigger factor. But yeah, that's an interesting point. By all means, you have permission to buy new appliances, but you don't need to. You don't need to if they're included. So that'll be a personal choice that you make when you find your next place. So paint. This is the power of paint to transform. And I know in Canada, this picture on the left, like painting over all of that trim, our house is from the 1930s and we've got a lot of fruitwood trim, and I would not paint it out personally. Our next door neighbors, they have painted it out. But I'm just saying, this looks funereal on the left, doesn't it? It absolutely does. And nobody wants to live in that kind of dark environment. You know what I'm going to have to do? I'm going to have to pause and let my dog out, and I'm going to kill him. I'm pausing recording.
I'm going to be cheeky and say I popped in another question about the appliances.
Yeah,
Can you
I
get
think
by
right.
with sparkly new ones but more budget priced?
Absolutely, yes. They have. This is what I did when I sold my house a couple of years back. I went and I got like a package deal at Home Depot, and they were new, but they weren't the bottom of the line, but it doesn't really matter that much. I didn't think so. Like I didn't get the absolute bottom of the line, but I'm was budget conscious on it. So I think that that's fine. So you can see that the painting of the cabinets can immediately refresh them as well. And there are lots of specifically created products for cabinet painting now that have high adhesion and they resist scrubbing. And the companies that will come in and do your, say, like a larger kitchen for you, it's about a third of the cost of replacing the cabinet. So it's a great economy, budget-minded option. So again, like you might love tangerine orange, but the vast majority of buyers are not. And it just photographs so much better. It looks more inviting and it feels more turnkey. So these are some resources that you can request. This is our booklet called The Best Renovations for Return on Investment. It's a separate webinar, but you can just request the booklet and it will help you with the guiding principles of preparing your home. And if you have specific questions about your property, I'm happy to come and give you my realtor's eye view of what the things you should spend your money on and the things that should be avoided. I have walked into more than a few homes where they've taken one piece of the puzzle and done it to the nines. In one case, it was the ensuite washroom for the primary bedroom was absolutely glorious and probably cost them the better part of $50,000. I would have rather they take that $50,000 and sprinkle it kind of more around so that this one room was not such an anomaly to the rest of the house. So this is kind of a consultation that we book. We can do it by Zoom. We can do it in person. You can just call me and we can set something up. I never charge for these things. I just want you to have some answers. So now the last pillar, the last of these three steps is about elevating presentation. And this last 10% is what can kind of make the difference into things that are selling and things that are sitting. So this is actually a picture of a recent listing we had in Thornhill. And I'm going to show you the before and after in a second, but you can just see that by just a bit of rearranging, a bit of what we call elevation of the style, we took it. This lady was well into her 80s, and her home looks contemporary and fresh and appealing, and we were able to sell it in about a week. So there is a new adage in real estate, and it is that if it ain't compelling, it ain't selling. So we need to have compelling images of your property. This is going to be the basis of our marketing, the decluttering, the home improvements, the neutralizing. Now we're into the staging, and this is the last piece of the puzzle to be able to bring it all together and show buyers your home in its very best light. So overcoming their inertia, it's much easier to say no than it is to say yes. We want them to see your home, have an emotional connection that sparks something in them that they need to come out and see it in person. And like I said, there's only one winner in every neighborhood. It's a beauty contest. And that just like there's only one Miss Universe, there's only one house that is going to be selling in the neighborhood at a time. And we want to make sure that every piece of the marketing is being tailored to buy that buyer and what they are looking for. So part of staging is it's not just fluffing pillows and putting lines on a counter. It's the principle is to restore function. Now, this was the homeowner's office in a 4-bedroom home. The highest and best use of that room is not as an office. The highest and best use of that room is as a fourth bedroom. So we took this office and we moved it into a space in the basement. She luckily had space for it, and we restored this to a bedroom. And as it turned out, the home still sat. There was too much color going on, and we ended up bringing our contractor back and painting this room a light gray. And that was just what it took to get it sold. But the first step in this is to take your rooms and restore them back to the function they were intended for. So this is the first principle of staging. And then also, a lot of homes have these kind of hidden potential areas of them. So this is a basement of a home we recently sold, and it had this kind of awkward little L-shaped space at the bottom of the floor of the stairs into it. And we dressed it up as an office, as a work from home space, because there wasn't another one available on the main 2 floors. So this is a little hidden jewel for the potential homeowner who might be working from home. We don't want dead space. We don't want rooms with no obvious function. Same thing as the middle picture. This middle picture is in a condo, and there was this hallway, kind of like a nook that was between the secondary bedroom and the secondary washroom, and it was not being used for anything. So again, we gave it a purpose. We need to make this explicit. Buyers are not good at imagining. And then we had this great basement. It had a sound system, it had a movie screen. And when we staged it, we literally staged it with board games out and the movie playing and popcorn and drinks on a sidebar that you can't see. It's out of this picture. We want them to see what they are getting and imagine the use of the space. I'm seeing, especially in condos right now, because they're really struggling, so many condos are listed vacant. You have no idea of what furniture will fit. At least with this, you have an idea. It's not a huge space, but it can accommodate a desk, a lamp, maybe a filing cabinet. So it helps your buyers with that imaginative leap. The other part of staging is to establish flow. The stager I use is amazing because she has such an incredible imagination for repurposing things. You'll see that we've edited down the furniture in the this family room here from the picture on the left to the picture on the right because we wanted to give unobstructed access to that walkout door. Those are beautiful doors and they were kind of hidden, and it would have been hard for a group of people, the realtor, the couple buying, all of that. It would have been hard for them to kind of get through it. So we just edited it down. And those two chairs that you see, the club chairs on the left, were moved into the living room where there was more space for them. We shuffled around some of the tables and just made it that much easier to get out to the backyard, which is a key selling feature for families these days. The same thing with these bedrooms, before and after. We are attempting to create a feeling of harmony, luxury. We are looking for the pictures to relate to each other, that there's not a jarring change from one to the next, that everything, you'll see that in the top picture to the bottom picture, we've swapped out the lighting as well. That was that I got that on wayfair.ca. I think it was about $90 open box special, and it just helped kind of bring this room to the next level of luxury. This is a $2 million listing in Unionville. We're not messing around with 1990s light fixtures, right? So we actually swapped out a total of 7 light fixtures in this house just to bring them all, because they were a bit mishmash, and just bring them all kind of in the same aesthetic. So you can see the picture on the right. We took down the drapery panels because they diminish the amount of natural light by probably 50%. We left up the blinds, and but the rest of it is just harmonious, light, airy, put together. And we didn't change the paint in this is like kind of like a corn yellow, like a maize color. Did not change that. We worked with it, but you'll see it's actually reflected in some of the natural fibers on the bed, where we're working with what's there. That's the genius of a stager who knows their job, is to take it from grandma's cozy corner, cluttered corner, and just use, like, it's all the same furniture. We've got a different lamp, different artwork, but it's the basic pieces being repurposed. And then I think this is really an important part too of creating that feeling, is that we want to appeal to the aspirations of the buyer. What are they looking for your house to do for them? Is it a matter that they don't have room to have a baby or that next baby? So this house on the right with the safari nursery in it is owned by a 77-year-old man who has no babies. But we took his office, because office furniture is ugly. This fourth bedroom was an office. It was ugly because it's black and it's, melamine, very harsh looking, doesn't photograph well. And we just, again, put it all in the basement. And we used rented furniture to turn this into a nursery. Why? Because anybody buying a 4-bedroom home is looking for a family space. So this, either it's on their radar or it's already happened. Same thing with the backyard. Look at this backyard. We want to show it off in its best light so that they can see that your home is going to do for them what they are looking for it to do. So if you have questions about staging and the staging process, here is the booklet that you can request. And we're going to deal with some of the key questions about staging. These are the things that are asked on a regular basis about staging. Does my house have to be vacant? No. What do you do with my surplus stuff? Depends. Do you have room in an unfinished portion of the basement? Do you have a garage that can be used for the purpose? That's where we try to start. What do you do with my, oh, sorry, there's some repetition there. Who pays for staging? I do. Should I hang on to furniture in case you need it? Absolutely not. If you have somebody in your family that wants that dining set or that couch or whatever it is, get rid of it. I don't need it, because we will fill in the pieces of anything that's missing. Side tables, lamps, any of that stuff we will bring in. And what if you don't like the staging when I finish? Well, it's not for you to live with. It is to attract and appeal to a buyer. So if this happened, this actually comes from lived experience. I sold my mom and stepdad's house, and my stepdad hated the staging. He was just like, it was all abstract art. It looked great. And we sold the house in multiple offers. And, they made out like gangbusters, but hated the style. And it was like, it wasn't really meant for you. You are not your buyer. So you just got to trust. There's a trust factor in letting us stage your home. So I want to show you a powerful case study as a way to kind of finalize our time together. This is bringing it all home. And I do mean that literally. So this is a client who moved out of their home, who was too elderly and ill to take on any of this. And we did it all. So this was a concierge sale where they were not in the house, and we took the living room from the left to the right. We had the walls painted. We got rid of the hospital bed. We got it donated. We also did a refresh on the kitchen, got rid of the saloon doors, had a thoroughly deep cleaned. We embraced the paneling of this house, and the primary bedroom was completely transformed with just some staging items. So these are the things, like even as much as taking that office, that fourth bedroom office, and showing it for its best use. So I am really proud of the work we did, including arranging for the contractor to replace the toilet and the vanity, and embracing the basement as retro. It is a retro basement. Our team also took care of the outside. There were 18 bags of yard waste that were gathered up, and we organized all of that for our clients. Exterior windows, lawn maintenance, all of the contractor services for repairs and cosmetic improvement. And the efforts really paid off. I'm so proud of this. We helped the client get the money they needed out of the house. It would not have been nearly as saleable, or maybe even saleable at all, and arranged for this when they were off site. The daughter handed us the keys and we took care of it all. So this is the level that we can provide for the clients who need it. Not everybody does need it, but when it's required, that's what our concierge real estate business looks like. So if you've never sold a home before, this is what it looks like. There is a lot of emphasis when the property is listed on the market, but there are these things in the earlier phases, the planning, the consultation, where we are establishing a goal, a plan, a budget, all of those things ahead of time. And we work with you so that you are using those resources in a way that will pay off, and not frittering away time and money. We also have contractors who have been vetted, who will show up and do the small jobs. I literally had a contractor once tell me, I don't get out of bed for less than $10,000. And it was like, wow, aren't you great? But we're not going to be hiring you ever. So we have those people on our team who can help you get the honeydew list done for. And at the end, we bring in the cleaner, stager, photographer, videographer. And then that's when showings actually begin. And while you are selling, this is a great time to start looking in earnest for your next home if it hasn't already been determined. Some of my clients know exactly where they're going, and some of them are still, it's a question mark. So while your home is listed for sale, this is where we get serious about a condo, a bungalow, a retirement community, because don't forget, it's going to take a certain amount of time to sell your home, and we'll have a firm deal. And then there will be a certain amount of time, usually 60 days, until closing. So that is the time, that whole process is the time where we're going to get really clear on where you're going next. And then we will help with the logistics of getting you settled into your new house. So it doesn't just start and stop with a for sale sign. Gosh, no. It starts months, sometimes years before somebody's actually ready to pull the trigger and get listed for sale. So if that's you, I hope this brings some clarity to the process. And this is a great time. How much time have we got? Oh, we got 2 minutes. I'm here for as long as needed, but these are the kinds of questions people generally ask. It's a small group. I welcome you to unmute yourself if you'd like to ask a question. But here's what my sellers are asking me. Should they buy or sell first? Well, there are risks for both of them. The risk if you buy first is that there's a potential for you to own two homes. And if that's not a financial concern for you, if you have a way of bridge financing or purchasing it from a home equity line of credit, if there's an option for you, it's a much easier transition for you to move out of your house and into your new house while your old house is for sale. So, whatever that looks like for you, that is the risk, is that you're going to own two for a short period of time. The other way about it is that you could sell first and not find something that you love and have to do a transitional move to something that's less than what you wanted. So either side has risk, but I think selling first makes more sense for most people. What about renting our next home? Renting a condo, renting a house, renting, another place to live. Depending on your age and stage, this can make a lot of sense. The equity you have tied up in your home can be invested, and you can live off the proceeds of the investment without actually touching the principal. That can be a good strategy for some people. That's not my area of expertise. You really need to crunch the numbers with your financial professional. But I'm seeing more and more examples of when renting makes sense. So, renting can be a retirement community. That's renting, that's a lease. So, you got to decide what you want for yourself. How long does it take to sell? Average days on market has been creeping up all year. Last year was abysmal, probably 45 days. I like to say that we will be listed and sold within 60 days, but it depends on the property. Some are, I mean, we just had a listing of all places, Hamilton, sell in 2 days. The houses I showed you, the one with the family room that you walked out, that sold in 7 days. The case study house sold in 7 days. So, I mean, it can take as much as 60 days, but it can be quick as well. Just depends. Why can't I? Oh, should I wait for the market to rebound? Well, it depends how old you are. I'm being a little cheeky, but the particular circumstances of COVID were so unique, so unprecedented. We do not anticipate that coming back. The high immigration, the low unemployment, the incredibly rock bottom interest rates, all of those things forced people to reconsider condo life and want to buy in the suburbs. Those situations have all of those circumstances have disappeared. So I've seen projections that we really won't see an increase in the market until early 2030s. That's going to take us that long to catch up to 2022. The peak of the market was March 2022. But in some ways, does it matter? Because if you are buying something after you sell, whatever you're buying has gone down commensurate as well. So I don't know. Lots of times the math still maths. I think you shouldn't wait for the market. You should do when it's right for you. Can't I just sell as is? Yeah, sure you can. But you're going to take a big hit in the price. You've got to incentivize that buyer for taking it on. What about my house? If my house is likely a tear down? I see this question all the time. Well, builders have a maximum they will pay for a construction lot. That's essentially what you're asking, the land value only. And depending on the size of your lot and the location, they need to be able to put a house on it that's 4 times what they pay for your lot. So it really depends. The highest and best value will be achieved by an end user, somebody who wants to live in your house. So even houses in neighborhoods where I think they're likely to be torn down, parts of Thornhill, for example, older homes, We stage them because a buyer who wants to live there will pay more than an investor who's going to rebuild it. Who can help me? This is a big one. Well, definitely I can. And I know I have a small army of people who can help you. If this is not something you can do on your own or you don't want to do on your own, I can help you. What's it all going to cost? Well, that's impossible to answer with, just a blind item. I would say if you could allocate 1% of your sale price to doing these kind of low cost, I think that's probably about reasonable. And what is that you said about leasing heating and cooling equipment? Well, don't do it. That's part one. Part two is you will need to buy out that contract prior to closing your home because homes are not sold without a furnace and buyers won't likely take on those payments. Okay. Any other questions? Well, while you're thinking if you have anything to ask me, these are the next steps. You can request one of the resources that I have mentioned here. I will be sending you this presentation. You could schedule a consultation with me. You can attend a condo tour. These are for the people who don't know where they're going next and they want to see if condo living is for them. And you can ask for a home evaluation. Just wanted to give you a heads up that if you have a lot of paper clutter, we are planning our next shredding event on Saturday, October 3rd. You're the first to know about it. Well, second after me. So plan for that if that's something that you can benefit by. All right.